This is the patch 25.08 review for Dummies, where I read through the entire patch notes and give my bad takes as a Diamond player so you don't have to read through it. Discover your fate in patch 25.08. Here comes patch 25.08, bringing some balance changes across all the currently active queues. This is also the last patch of the current ranked season, so make sure to get your 15 wins to lock in Victorious Twisted Fate. If I don't get Masters in 14 days, I will die. This patch sees improvements to some items that have fallen out of the spotlight, like Crypt Bloom, True, Opportunity, and Overlord's Bloodmail, as well as Mel and Zoe coming back into the meta after being out of it for a while. That's an interesting definition of while, seeing as Mel hasn't even been out for 6 months. We're also shipping some larger work to Annie to make her a bit more satisfying by moving damage out of Tiver's sustained damage that can be hard to feel and into her spell casts. For Ahri and Syndra, we feel like their builds are a little off. Ahri is building more tanky than we'd like, and Syndra is able to opt too easily into lower damage purchases and still be effective. So we're tweaking that a little. Other changes include a follow-up balance to champions we've done larger work on recently, like Gwen and Yorick. Okay, so off the rip, Ahri is super strong and needs to be nerfed. Gwen probably could use a little nerf. Nefiri feels a little weak. It could use a buff. Yorick is crazy broken and definitely needs to be nerfed, and thankfully I don't see it that much. I definitely feel like Syndra is a little bit annoying, but I don't know if she's broken. Some other offenders, I feel like Silas just always feels strong and is really annoying. And those are kind of my top thoughts right now. I don't really see anyone else and be like, oh my god, the game is over. So let's see. Summer Swift Ranked Season 1 end. Okay, so the Ranked Season 1 will end at April 29th at midnight regional local time, which is the last day of the patch. Ranked progression will not reset with the start of Season 2, but the Ranked Reward mission will be refreshed. Don't forget to complete the Victorious Twisted Fate mission by winning 15 ranked games. I did. Alright, let's get started with champions. We have Ahri. We're making some Ahri adjustments aimed at weakening her currently popular and overperforming Rod of Ages plus the Andrews build. We'd like to push her toward optimally building high threat AP burst. We're generally increasing AP ratios and devaluing level scaling with a reduced armor pool, making the bonus HP less significant overall. So yeah, HP stacking is broken and has been broken for a while, and Ahri is just the most recent champion to try it out, but every champion will be trying this out, and until you nerf the items, they will keep doing it. And until you redo a lot of other systems. Alright, armor growth. So armor growth down, it's pretty bad, but that doesn't affect too many of your mage matchups besides like level 1 to 3. So not the biggest deal. The W damage is down by 5 and the AP scaling is up. Okay, this does affect a lot of your matchups, and the cooldown is also up. That's pretty rough, but the AP ratio is nice, but it's not that far up, right? 40 to 64, actually that's pretty nice. E-Charm damage is AP ratio is up by 10. Okay, so this is kind of just a buff, right? This is just kind of a buff. I mean, she's getting 10% AP ratio here, and in a lot of situations, especially if she hits her charm, in a lot of situations, she's getting 24% AP ratio here. In exchange for 5 base damage, or I guess it's 25 base damage maxed. I don't know what Ahri max is nowadays, but definitely not W first, Q first, and then something. And 1 second on the cooldown. Wow. I don't know what to say. This seems like not that big of a nerf. I feel like she's still going to go the same build. But, okay. Annie! For a while now, too much of Annie's power budget has been in Tibbers. Well, that's her iconic thing. Especially his ability to passively stand next to enemies and burn them over time while applying multiple proc item effects. While this sort of playstyle will still exist to some degree, we wanted to shift the power back into Annie herself and give her the ability to burst enemies harder and still have a fighting chance when Tibbers is on cooldown. Additionally, we are adding a new passive to her R, that grants Annie percent of magic pen that affects all of her damage. Wow. We want Annie to still be able to play the game when Flash is on cooldown, and that means having a little bit more target freedom and being able to get a little more value on the frontline targets. This magic pen will help in that department. So Annie, her iconic ability is Tibbers. If you're taking away power from her Tibbers, doesn't she just turn into like Syndra, who's just like a slam your keyboard one-shot person? Her health is down by a lot, 6 per level. Her Q damage is up by 10 and the AP ratio is up by 5. Her W damage scales and the cooldown's down. That's pretty nice. And her R gives magic pen passively, and the flame aura base is down and the AP ratio is down a ton, and the auto attack damage is down a lot. So Tibbers now does way less damage, and in exchange, your W upfront damage and your Q upfront damage and your Q upfront ratio, and you got a magic penetration bonus in exchange for aura damage. This is gonna be crazy, right? There's no other way this could go, right? This is gonna be crazy. She's gonna be super duper good. And this is just a straight buff. You could pretty much ignore this. A lot of Annie's power is just one-shotting people, right? Annie, like, lives or dies based on whether she one-shots you, so you just made it easier for her to one-shot people. We'll see. Blitzcrank, this champion's not real. Blitzcrank is sad with lower win rate, pick rate, and ban rate than we would expect. We're buffing up his hook damage to make it a bit easier to actually kill targets that you land the grab on, and giving him a bit more durability on his passive to make buying mana more attractive and to give him a bit easier of a time committing for big plays. So his shield max mana is 35%, and his damage on his Q is up by 5 at all ranks. This won't change anything. This champion just, like, doesn't work anymore. Blitzcrank isn't real. Brand, passive damage per tick to monsters increase. Yay! We buffed the damage cap per tick last patch, but didn't quite see the win rate movement we were shooting for, and Brand Jungle is still extremely weak. We are buffing the actual percent damage amplification per tick to monsters to help hit those now higher caps sooner. Yay! Yay, Brand buffs. Yay, I love Brand. He probably still won't be good. Gwen, this champion's broken. Gwen's new power curve has added a lot of agency to her early game, and she's still a little bit too high power for her current shape and slightly too powerful early game. So her E on damage is down a lot early, but scales up to be what it was. Interesting. So, I mean, around level 3 points in it, which is level 11, it equalizes 16 to... Oh, no. It's still a little bit lower, but it's about the same. But yeah, this makes her early game a little bit worse, but not that much worse. Again, the best part about her E is the cooldown. This will make her clear worse, though. Hui, passive damage increase, our damage increase. Hui could use a bit of a touch-up relative to the rest of the mage roster. His early game is strong and in a good spot, but his late game power leaves a bit to be desired to be a true carry threat, giving him a bit more of a punch to push those games over the line. Okay. His passive damage is up barely anything, and his R damage is up at level 11. I mean, it's nice, but it's not that big of a change. Sure. Placebo buff. Lulu! She's getting nerfed again! Lulu ended up winning more games due to her Q bug fixes being more important than the direct nerfs she received last patch. So we're back once again to ship some Lulu nerfs. As an enchanter, it should be reasonable for assassins, especially AD assassins, to jump in and kill her before she could force multiply her team. So we're taking a meaningful swing to ensure she's squishy against all flat penetration building classes equally. 30 health. Wow. I mean, I've had it out for Lulu for years, and I think this is deserved, if you ask me. I think Lulu's been running rampant as, if not the easiest, like the second easiest Enchantress, and the most impactful Enchantress by far. She has definitely outclassed every other Enchantress in every way. She outscales them, and she's good early. So, like, you know, Nami, Soraka... all these champions, Janna, nowhere to be found because Lulu is just better in every way. And it's nice to see Lulu nerfed because, you know, there should be a niche where, like, you would want to pick Janna instead of Lulu. But right now there isn't. We're happy. Mel. The fact that they're buffing this champion is crazy. I mean, this is recency bias. Their justification was that it has been a while, as they said, but, how long has this champion been out? Has this champ even been out for a while? Where are the Morgana buffs? I feel like it's been a while since that champion's been good, don't you think? Mel was previously nerfed due to the ban rate she was seeing, but she's weak, and we are looking to cautiously bring some power back into areas that players hopefully don't find frustrating. So she's tankier, which is frustrating, and her passive now does extra damage. I mean, Mel is just a frustrating champion to play against. I love the idea of Mel. I love her W, but this should have been a support champion. I hate to say it, but this champion is so frustrating. because her cooldowns are so short and like her damage is misleading. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not clear when you're gonna die to Mel. I don't like that. When I'm playing against Mel, I'll be like 50% health and she hits me with a Q and I'm like, do I die now? Like, do I die? I don't know. I can't tell. It's unclear to me whether or not I'm close to dying. And that doesn't feel good. And so it like prevents me from wanting to go in. I don't like this champion. Mel shouldn't have an execute. Yes, I agree. I think the problem with Mel is her passive execute. I think if her ultimate was the same, or even if her ultimate had an execute on it specifically, that would be okay, but it's the fact that she has an execute on all of her abilities as a passive that's really awkward. I think there also needs to be more communication of like, how many stacks do I have on me, right? It's awkward. Renekton. Renekton has been underperformed, that's crazy, and has been less present in pro play lately, giving us some room for a small buff for solo queue. Renekton is a dominant laner, so we're targeting part of his kit that won't impact his lane or level 6 spikes much, but still be felt late game. So his R damage is up at level 11 and later. That's nice. This helps him scale. Renekton doesn't scale, so this is nice. Shen. Despite recent increases to his tower damage, Shen is still underperforming. It's because no one plays him. We're giving him some more access to tools to let him scrap it out in top lane. So his Q slow is now up 10% at all levels, which is nice. Helps him stick on targets. And his W cooldown is down 2 seconds. This is great. By the way, for support Shen loves this. I feel like Shen is going to come back as a support. I don't know. I feel like Shen is just never going to fit in the top lane meta where modern champions like Ambessa exist and Cassante. Why would you play Shen? So yeah, I think if anything, he'll be support. These are nice support buffs. It's more slow and more uptime on the W, which is all support Shen cares about. Singed. All right, last patch's changes were directionally positive, but ended up being slightly more power than intended, reverting the passive cooldown change as it's the more fun thing for Singed players to have access to. Cool, that's fine. Sona. We're giving Sona some easy... Oh, speaking of champions that are easy to pilot and powerful, we're giving Sona some easy-to-access baseline functionality buffs to give her some power across her core skills since she's been underperforming in general. I don't know if I agree with that. But anyway, Q damage is barely up, and her W heal is up by 5. These are placebo buffs. They hardly will ever make a difference. But nice. Syndra. We're adjusting Syndra's incentives to make her more of a burst mage and less of a high uptime full mobility kiter who relies on high haste to whittle her opponents down. In order to make burst builds competitive to high haste ones, we're tweaking some of her numbers. So the W slow is down and doesn't scale, which is super nice. And the E damage is down a lot, and the AP ratio is way up. And the R damage per sphere is also down, but the AP ratio is up, meaning that she isn't focusing on getting that extra sphere, but that more AP will make a difference. Where the cooldown reduction build, ability haste build, would get that extra sphere and maximize your sphere damage. Now she's going to build AP, hopefully. I hate Syndra. Syndra, same with Annie. I hate these champions that just stat check you, but I still play them too. Anyway, Tristana, this champion's OP. Tristana is strong at virtually all points of the game and suppressing some of the other bot laners due to a combination of laning burst damage and late game DPS. We're nerfing our ultimate to make snowballing through the level 6 spike less consistent, so our ultimate damage is down by 50. Ooh, big. I don't know if that'll make that big of a difference, but sure. Xerath. Wait, none of the champions I listed are on here. Interesting. Xerath, except for Gwen. The Xerath adjustment from last patch meant to buff mid and nerf support landed closer to neutral than desired, and both landed slightly win rate negative despite intending mid to be buffed. The power shift in the last list was a good foundation to build on, and in this change, we are pushing the mid-exclusive lever of mana restoration on kill to make sure the list is clearly skewed towards mid lane. Additionally, adding some power back into Xerath's base damage to make up for some of the early game power removed from the previous base damage removals. So if you remember last patch, they changed Xerath around a lot and essentially buffed all of his ratios. And I said, Well, at some point, it's going to be OP, because if games go long enough, this champion is not balanced. Xerath, if he gets to 30 minutes, like, you talk about Kale scaling, you talk about the 4-item Xerath, what do you do into 4-item Xerath? You don't get on the same screen as him, and more importantly, he doesn't even need to hit you with an ability. If you show on the map and you're a squishy, he just presses R and kills you. So this champion is scary, and let's see. I don't want him to be good early. Cooldown reduction on kill is up. I think that's fine. It affects mid Xerath only, and mid Xerath is the more vulnerable one. And then his Q damage is up by 5? It's fine. Whatever. Zeri. I hate this champion too. Though Zeri's numbers look reasonable, she has completely fallen out of the bot lane meta despite being popular in the past, so we're giving her a shot in the arm, reducing her high-power team fighting to make her live out those carry fantasies better. So her damage is increased by 5% during her ultimate. Whatever. Yone! We expected last patch to buff Yone, but based on how it went for Yasuo, we expected a much smaller impact to the changes than what we got. As a result, we're throwing in a small Yone nerf to land where we expected to. The intent of this nerf is to make him more reliant on auto attack uptime, exposing himself to greater risk in the process. So the W damage is down max health by 2%. Anyone know that his W did max health damage? What is going on with Riot? What is this champion? No one, like, I hate this champion with a passion. I don't even, you know how much I hate Yone? I don't even hate Yasuo anymore. I don't think Yasuo's a problem. That's how bad Yone is. They're not even comparable to me. Don't talk about Windwall in my presence. Look at Yone. Look at Yone. No, I am sick of this champion. I hate it. He has everything. He gets 1,000 skins. Did you see that list of who got the most skins in the last year and a half? Yone got 4. Lux got 2. Misfortune got 3. Yone got 4 over Misfortune. Are you kidding me? I hate this champion. I hate everything about this champion. I hate his passive. I hate his E. I hate the movement speed on his E. I hate the shield on his W. I hate the damage on his W. I hate his Q3. I hate his ultimate. I hate everything about this champion. Yone. Anyway, Yorick is nerfed, and I'm not reading all this. Just kidding. Well, last patch, Yorick's update was largely successful at giving Yorick more access to his Mistwalkers and a fighting chance in the early lane. It also managed to significantly skew him toward the jungle, where he's overperforming. This follow-up patch is intended to give us a better jungle versus lane levers so we can tune him separately. Okay, for the rules. We expect these changes to be somewhat powered down for jungle Yorick. Cool. So, monster damage for his passive is up. Damage to monsters is up. Wait, what? So he does more damage to jungle? What? What is monster damage taken and damage to monsters? What are these two stats? Monster damage taken, does that mean his monsters or enemy monsters? And what? Damage to what? This is unclear to me. This is his minions, right? The first one. So his minions are squishier, but they also do more damage. But then minion damage taken unchanged? Monster damage taken is his monsters taking damage. But then what's minion damage taken? Lane minions? Sure, that makes sense. Alright, I wish that could have been more clear. E Morning Mist, which is his annoying ability. The damage is now 10% of target's max HP plus AP ratio for whatever reason. And it has a monster damage cap. That's nice. And lane minion minimum damage is nice. Why? What? And then his R mark only affects champions. What? I don't know. Whatever. This champion's annoying. I hope it's nerfed. I don't know how to understand this because I've never played it and I just don't want to see it. Zoe! Zoe struggles with wave clear more than most mid lane mages. We want this downside of Zoe to still exist, but the extent of the downside has some room to be lessened. So we're removing the damage reduction to targets beyond the first struck by Q. Damage fall off to secondary targets removed. It's a very, 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 very nice quality of life buff to Zoe. You know, this was nerfed in the era of Zoe, Talia having their push nerfed because there was this meta of just shoving mid and then roaming, and this was 10 years ago or something, and they said that's not okay. Well, turns out every other champion is just doing that now, and there is no justification for Zoe not being able to do this when Yone and Silas and Akali and every other D-shield second wind mid laner who just walks up like Cho'Gath and just kills the whole wave, tanking your damage and walks away. So good. She deserves it. Yummy. Yummy has risen up as one of the best supports recently, especially in higher skill brackets. She's a little too dominant in the very early phase. We're tapping down her super early outputs to retain her weak laning identity, reliant on scaling up. So her heal is down by 5 early, which will change pretty much nothing on her passive, and then her E shield is down 15 across all ranks, which makes a difference. Good, I hate Yumi. Well, that's interesting. Let's talk about items, which items have been pretty stagnant in terms of builds. Recently, I feel like almost all champions go some form of health stacking, whether it's Eclipse, Bruiser, Shield stacking into like Sterix, Black Cleaver, whatever, or mages going Liandry's in Riftmaker or Rod of Ages in Riftmaker. It's health stacking, so let's see how they change that. So Crypt Bloom gets 5 ability haste. It's fallen completely behind Void Staff for mages, and we like this comparison to be fair. As a result, we're delivering a light buff to Crypt Bloom that should keep it distinct based on what you're looking for. So 5 ability haste. I mean, people only build these items for the magic pen. If they wanted ability haste, they'd get it somewhere else, girl. This isn't going to do anything. What you need to do, Riot, okay? Listen and learn. You need to have both items have the same magic pen, okay? You have 2 items with the same magic pen, okay? One of them gives you 70 AP. One of them gives you ability haste and a crazy passive. And then you get to make an informed decision between the two, right? Because they're situational. When the magic pen values on these are different, there is no decision to make, okay? There is one you build. And unless the passive on Crypt Bloom is broken, nobody is going to build this because of 5 ability haste. Because they're building it for either the passive or the magic pen. They're not building it for the ability haste. That's just a little nice sprinkle on top. So make the magic pen the same and then adjust the numbers accordingly. You're welcome. Deadman's Plate. The slow resistance stat on Deadman's Plate has been too effective at covering a few champions' core weaknesses lately, and we feel like it's a good time to reduce the potency of slow resist on a single purchase. I didn't even know this was in the game. This item's OP. Opportunity. Opportunity has dropped in popularity over time and could use a buff to make it more competitive option in the lethality item space. I built this. Additionally, we're lowering the passive lethality gain on the range split, so range users don't benefit quite as much from the base stat buffs as melee users do. So lethality is up 3, and then after being out of combat, range champions don't get lethality. Cool. So they're saying don't build this item, Quinn. I'm okay with that. In Jhin. Plus 3 lethality is nice. Overlord's Bloodmail. Overlord's has been fine, but not exceptionally powerful for most of its lifetime, looking to buff it into a position where it's clearly better than some other items for heavier fighters, especially in the later slots. So bonus AD is equal to 2.5% of bonus health, and the retribution damage based on missing health is 0 to 12%. This won't matter. This item sucks. And the reason this item sucks is because it's a capstone item, right? It's like Death Cap, except it's a bad capstone item, because it just gives you more AD. But champions don't want AD. Champions who are doing the health stacking build, they need ability haste, right? Like the consistent thing about the health stacking build, you get Eclipse, Black Cleaver. Sterix is your like HP stacking AD item, right? You don't really have like a bunch of slots for that, because you need your utility. You need the shield from Eclipse, you need the armor pen from Black Cleaver, and you need the ability haste from both those items. And then you want the cooldown reduction from Spear of Sojin. This is just AD. I don't think this is better than Sterix, because it gives tenacity. Would build this? Yeah, maybe Set would build this. Set doesn't care too much. But they want it to be built on champions like Xin Zhao and Jarvan and, you know, like all the bruiser champions, like Vi and stuff, but it's just not good. Alright. ARAM, I don't care about. Arena, I don't care about. Skin updates. Grand Reckoning skins. We've made some adjustments to his model and rig to make his armor look, move, and feel more like armor for Sion. This is so funny. There's a skin update section. Are you kidding me? Sanhuzal Mordekaiser. Sanhuzal Mordekaiser will be arriving in the Sanctum in 25.08, so I will never see it, but there are a few bits of polish still on their way that you should see. Okay, well, this skin is so embarrassingly bad that they delayed it. and then it's still pretty bad. I don't think it's really that much better. So, not impressed. This is embarrassing. This section is embarrassing. Alright, bug fixes. I don't care. Blue Essence Emporium, last chance. Sure. I already got everything. Alright, let's look at all these skins, shall we? Alright, starting out, we have the Splash for Sounduzal Mordekaiser. I think, this skin looks pretty bad. I mean, it doesn't look bad. I rescind that comment. The skin is fine. It looks good. I would pay... I could see this as a 1350 skin. I could see this as an 1820 skin. But you, who might not be in the loop, would be surprised to know that this is a $200 skin. Or maybe $400. I don't know how the Sanctum works because I don't spend that type of money because I'm not stupid. No judgment. Hehe. That's crazy. If you want it, you can get it. Then we have Victorious Twisted Fate. Ooh, I think this Victorious Twisted Fate looks really nice, actually. I'm excited to see the chromas. I'm into it. It's fine. It's a Twisted Fate skin for free. It looks all right. Whatever, you know? And then we have these Fate Breaker skins. So we have Fate Breaker Tarek. This is like their... I don't know how to describe it. Like, he's got a turban on and this, like, blue-purple coloration. It's like a... I mean, it's obviously, like, the Arabia skin, but I don't really understand, like, the Fate Breaker universe, and I don't understand why Tarek has a dagger on his waist. He's Tarek. He has a two-handed hammer. He's also a healer and, like, a paladin. Why is there a dagger on his waist? Huh? Anyway... I mean, thematically, the skin sucks, but visually, the skin's pretty. I like it. And then we have Fatebreaker Malzlahar, and yeah, this skin looks cool. It's the Arabian theme. I like the mask. I mean, I guess they made him human, sure. He also has a dagger on his waist, but for Malzlahar, it makes more sense. And then his minions look super duper cute. Look at these. They are like, I don't know what this material is. Like blue essence filled, it looks like. Cute. I like it. I like the skin. And then finally, we have Fate Maker Nasus. All the furries rejoice. This skin looks pretty cool. This doesn't... I guess this also kind of is meant to be in the same universe, but this leans more towards, like... I mean, obviously, if you're going to do a dog like this, I feel like it feels more Egyptian just because of Anubis, but, like, it still is Arabian in theme, and I like the rainbow. I like the details on his clothing. Like I like his like waistband thing with the tassels at the end. I like his puffy pants, and I think the color matching between like his hands, fingers, which I want to lick, and his axe are pretty cool. And I will hold his ears softly. So let's look at the overall patch, shall we? So we got nerfs on Gwen, Lulu, Tristana, Yone, Yorick, Yumi. As you may know if you're here, I don't think Yone has received enough nerfs. Lulu sucks. Gwen is deserved. Tristana is deserved. Yorick is deserved. And Yumi is deserved. Whatever, it sucks. The Blitzcrank buff is not real. This champion's not real. The brand buff might help, but probably won't. Way buff is not really real. The Mel buff is too much. She doesn't need health. Keep her squishy. Renekton buff is nice for scaling. The Shen buff is good for support only. The Singe buff is silly, but sure. The Sona buff won't make a difference, but go off, Sona players. Xerath will be really nice. They're really trying to put Xerath into the meta, and I don't know why, but go off. Zeri got a nice ultimate buff, which, yeah, slay. Zeri is really scary. And Zoe got a great quality of life wave clear buff. And then Annie was adjusted to be less of a tipper spot and more of a one-shot with Magic Pen built into her kit and also AP ratio increases. That's crazy. Her damage was raised across the board. The only place they took away damage was from her ticking tippers damage, which in a lot of instances didn't even matter because she just is worried about one-shotting you. So maybe this will open up like a bruiser, like Leandri's HP stacking Annie, like every other champion in the game, but we'll see. Ari got changed and, in my opinion, just directly buffed. And Syndra got the slow on her W lowered, or like normalized, or flattened, and then her AP ratios are up across the board. Crypt Bloom, they don't know what they're doing with this item. Deadman's Plate's a nice nerf. Opportunity doesn't matter, and this is also an item. They don't know what they're doing, and the skins are fantastic, except for the Sandu-Zal Mordekaiser. I think the Fatebreaker Malzahar, the Fatebreaker Tarek, and the Fatebreaker Nessus are gorge. And Victorious Trisha Fate's nice for those of you who play ranked.